The actors believe they're on a movie set, but they're caught in an actual war.
Let's go and make the greatest war movie ever!
Right.
In the winter of 1969, an elite U.S. Army unit was sent on a secret mission to Vietnam with one goal: rescuing Sergeant Tabak. Upon entering the jungle, the squad was ambushed, quickly finding themselves in a brutal, uneven fight. Surrounded and outnumbered, the soldiers fell one by one, realizing their mission was becoming impossible. Just as the group prepared to retreat, they spotted Sergeant Tabak escaping captivity. One soldier rushed to his aid while the rest held off the advancing enemy in a desperate battle. But then, the shocking truth emerged. It was all a ridiculous act, ruined by yet another botched take. A wealthy mogul had funded the adaptation of a memoir by Vietnam War veteran John Tabak, nicknamed Four Leaf, who had lost both hands but managed to write Soldiers of Fortune, recounting the events of that time. The film's cast included fading stars: Tug Speedman, a washed-up action hero whose career tanked after playing a dim-witted character; Kirk Lazarus, a 5-time Oscar winner who underwent a controversial transformation to embody his role; Al Pacino, a once popular rapper; Jeff Portnoy, a comedic actor infamous for lowbrow humor; and Kevin Sandusky, an eager newcomer dedicated to his craft. Their poor acting seemed like the worst issue on set, but things quickly spiraled further. The unprofessional crew triggered a $4 million stunt explosion, only to realize the cameras weren't rolling. The media caught wind, speculating the most expensive war movie ever might never be completed. Furious, studio mogul Grossman confronted the crew, demanding a solution. In his rage, he ordered someone to punch the director in the face. Tabak tried to intervene, but the arrogant financier dismissed him. Later that evening, the veteran approached the director, proposing a daring idea to save the production and get things back on track. The next morning, following Tabak's advice, director Roach-Lanin drops the spoiled actors into the jungles of Vietnam. Jeff is immediately unhappy with the situation. Having not planned to leave the comfort of the hotel, he realizes he left his stash of contraband substances in his room and tries to call his agent for help but is promptly slapped by the director. Roach-Lanin then demands the actors surrender their cell phones, destroys them by soaking them in water, and emphasizes that they will have no way to communicate with the outside world. Unwilling to comply entirely, Speedman secretly hides a satellite phone for emergency contact with his agent. Roach-Lanin explains that the entire operation is now a reality show, with hidden cameras scattered throughout the jungle and explosives rigged for dramatic special effects. The actors are instructed to stay in character, stick to the script, and focus on creating a convincing war movie. Speedman, playing the lead role, is given a map and scene layout, which are supposed to guide them to complete their objectives and eventually reach a helicopter to return home. After briefing the cast, Roach-Lanin takes a few steps forward to begin filming but accidentally steps on a landmine and is blown to pieces. The actors freeze in shock, trying to process what just happened. Speedman, convinced it's all part of the production, insists it's a high-level special effect designed to show the realism of the shoot. Sandusky examines the debris and realizes it was a genuine old French landmine from the colonial era. Lazarus argues that the explosion was real and that the director is truly gone, but Speedman reassures the group otherwise. When they discover Roach-Lanin's severed head nearby, Speedman doubles down on his theory, claiming it's just a prop. To prove his point, he tastes the blood, declaring it warm, sweet syrup. The others, however, are far from convinced. Unbeknownst to the actors, they've been dropped in the heart of the Golden Triangle, a notorious territory controlled by the Fire Dragon Cartel, infamous for trafficking illegal substances. Hearing the explosion, armed gang members investigate and spot the actors. Mistaking them for an elite U.S. anti-narcotics unit, the cartel leader orders his men to capture or kill them on sight. Tabak and pyrotechnician Cody remain nearby, preparing a series of explosions to make the film more dynamic and engaging. Cody admires the courage of the former soldier, who lost his limbs in battle, and vows to do everything he can to ensure the movie based on Tabak's book gains recognition. Meanwhile, Speedman suggests the other actors stick to the script. According to the scene layout, the group is supposed to get surrounded by enemies, fight back valiantly, and continue toward the river. Immersing themselves in their roles, the actors begin moving deeper into the jungle. However, Lazarus halts them, convinced the scattered body parts are merely special effects from an accident. This disagreement leads to a clash between Lazarus and Speedman, each determined to prove their perspective. Despite his certainty that the production has fallen apart, Lazarus refuses to break character, valuing his reputation as a professional actor. Meanwhile, the Fire Dragon Cartel positions itself to either capture or eliminate the perceived enemy. They open fire, forcing the actors to take cover. While everyone else begins to grasp the real danger, Speedman insists it's all part of the scene. Embodying his fearless character, Speedman charges toward the jungle, shouting and firing blanks at the cartel members. His colleagues reluctantly join the chaotic counterattack, escalating the absurd situation. The cartel, bewildered by the bizarre behavior of these supposed elite soldiers, retreats after realizing their attackers are using blank ammunition. Cody, hearing the commotion, sets off a massive explosion in the jungle, forcing the cartel further back. This dramatic turn convinces the actors even more that they're still in the movie. Encouraged by the supposed progress, the 5 actors venture deeper into the jungle to find the enemy base. Along the way, Speedman employs exaggerated military gestures, baffling the others with his over-the-top acting. At one point, Speedman proposes an alliance with Lazarus to ensure the success of the film, believing it to be their last chance to revive their careers. Speedman reflects on his flop Simple Jack, where he played a mentally challenged character, and sees this as his redemption. Lazarus bluntly tells him that such a poorly conceived role likely doomed his career, explaining that Speedman's portrayal lacked nuance or intrigue, leaving no room for audiences to see him as anything but a caricature. Tayback and Cody attempt to contact the director to confirm if the planned scene was captured, but Ruchelnan doesn't respond. Soon, they arrive at the site only to find the director's remains. Cody suspects that his pyrotechnics are to blame for the tragedy, which puts the entire production at risk. Tayback accuses Cody of unprofessionalism, sparking a heated argument during which Tayback's secret is revealed. He was never a Vietnam War veteran but served in the Coast Guard, and his arms are perfectly intact. Cody threatens to expose him, but their confrontation is interrupted when the Fire Dragon cartel surrounds them and takes them captive. Meanwhile, the group of actors decides to take a break to rest. Jeff tries to lift his spirits with a little powder but ends up losing the packet to a swooping bat. Frustrated and agitated, he's left without his stash. Lazarus seizes the moment to speak with Sandusky, explaining that the events unfolding around them are not part of the script but real life. He warns that Speedman's recklessness and obsession could cost them their lives. Lazarus proposes stealing the map to locate the helicopter landing zone and escape the jungle. Suspicious of their motives, Speedman pretends to excuse himself to the bathroom with a soda can and speaks privately with Sandusky. He urges the young actor to trust only him and to stick to the script at all costs. Later, the 5 actors reach the riverbank. Speedman insists they push forward, but Lazarus and Sandusky protest. A heated argument breaks out, during which the latter two seize the map and realize they've been heading the wrong way. The group decides to turn back and try to find a way out of the jungle, leaving Speedman to continue alone, adhering to the script. As night falls, the remaining 4 actors realize they won't make it out before dark and decide to camp near a swamp. Despite being far from any cameras, Lazarus stubbornly remains in character as a black soldier, much to the irritation of Al Pacino. Speedman also spends the night in the jungle, but completely alone, making him terrified of every rustle. Hearing someone approach, the actor strikes first. He fights with a wild animal and heroically kills it, only to discover it's a harmless panda. The next morning, Speedman contacts his agent to talk about the events from the previous night. Due to poor reception, Rick assumes that the actor killed a prostitute and advises him to get rid of the body. The agent also learns that Speedman hasn't been provided with a digital video recorder and promises to resolve this issue as soon as possible. Before the actor can respond, he's surrounded and kidnapped by bandits. Soon, Speedman is sent to a factory producing illegal substances. Spotting a camera on one of the buildings, he assumes he's in a POW camp from the movie script. Meeting one of the leaders of the Fire Dragons, Speedman plays the role of a captured soldier, spits in his face, and then suggests moving on to the next scene, torture. Meanwhile, a group of actors finds a huge bull and decides to use it as a means of transport. As they make their way through the jungle, they spot the illegal substance factory and realize that Speedman is actually being tortured for real. Later, Speedman is taken to meet the head of the Fire Dragons, who controls poppy fields and marijuana plantations. The actor doesn't understand what's going on and assumes the director has unexpectedly changed the script. A small but cruel boy named Tran brings Speedman back to harsh reality. He extinguishes a cigar on the actor's body and beats him with a stick. Speedman becomes pathetic and begs for mercy. At that moment, Tran recognizes Speedman as Jack the Simpleton. The gang members kneel before the actor because they adore the movie and constantly rewatch it. Rick visits the heartless millionaire Grossman to remind him of the terms outlined in the actor's contract and demand a video recorder. At the same time, the bandits call Speedman's agent to demand a ransom of $50 million. The millionaire hears the demands over the speakerphone and decides to respond harshly to the kidnappers. After analyzing the conversation and pinpointing the location of the call, it becomes clear that Speedman is being held by the Fire Dragons, a gang trafficking illegal substances. Grossman realizes it's all real, but during another conversation with the terrorists, he insults them and refuses to negotiate. Rick is shocked, as Speedman could be executed, but the ruthless millionaire is unconcerned. In his opinion, Speedman's death will allow them to make money and cover the losses from the failed film. Grossman tells Rick to stay silent about the failed negotiations and promises to gift him a Gulfstream 5 jet. In the evening, Tran and his followers bring Speedman onto the stage and ask him to play the role of Jack the Simpleton. To help the actor get into character, they offer him a false set of dentures and ask him to pretend to be a real fool. Ignoring the command threatens Speedman's life, so he's forced to play Jack for the demanding audience. Meanwhile, the 4 other actors realize they can't abandon their friend in trouble and start brainstorming a plan to rescue him. Sandusky suggests not experimenting and instead using the movie script, where some will distract the enemies while others infiltrate their base to free the prisoner. Al Pacino and Lazarus go on a reconnaissance mission and approach the factory. Watching Speedman's acting, Lazarus notices that it's become less terrible. This time, he portrays Jack in a less foolish way, which pleases the audience. Meanwhile, Jeff admits that he can't join the rescue group because he's going through withdrawal. He hasn't taken illegal substances in a long time and isn't ready to storm the drug factory, fearing he might give in to temptation and use the white powder. With each passing minute, Jeff finds it harder to control himself and his emotions, so he asks Sandusky to tie him up. While imprisoned, Speedman continues playing Jack the Simpleton and gradually becomes more immersed in the role. He enjoys the bandit's respect for his acting talent. A small boy, a fan of Speedman, gives him an Oscar made from twigs, leading the actor to start calling him his son. After returning from the reconnaissance mission, Al Pacino and Lazarus report what they saw and decide to use a scene from the script as their plan to free Speedman. Jeff is struggling to control himself more and more, and he promises the actors he will do anything they want, just so they'll let him go. His friends don't fall for his provocations, as each of them wants to return home to their families and loved ones. The next morning, Lazarus pretends to be a farmer who found Jeff on his farm. He heads to the factory and uses all of his acting talent to distract the soldiers, allowing Al Pacino and Sandusky to infiltrate the enemy's territory. Having worked in dozens of films around the world, Lazarus knows some Chinese, though not very well. As a result, he awkwardly explains what happened to him, but the bandits believe him and his story. Tran is suspicious of the rice plantation-owning farmer's lies, but Lazarus stays in character. Meanwhile, Al Pacino and Sandusky sneak into the warehouse, where they find Tabak and Cody tied up. They free the fake Vietnam War hero and the pyrotechnician, allowing Cody to reclaim his explosives. Lazarus hands over the captured Jeff and prepares to leave, but at one point claims to own a poppy farm. Tran sees him as a competitor and decides to execute the farmer, but then realizes the story is made up. The gang leader exposes Lazarus, but the actor opens fire on the gang. Even though the bullets are blanks, his boldness scares them, temporarily incapacitating the gang. The other actors support Lazarus and take control of the situation. Jeff is freed, but instead of helping his friends, he captures Tran and demands to know where he keeps the white powder. Abandoning his friends, Jeff decides to no longer fight his addiction and heads to the warehouse. There, he encounters several elderly women and asks them to undress so he can take their clothes. At one point, Tran notices that the actor hesitated and uses this to launch an attack. Despite his young age, the boy displays incredible combat skills and knocks Jeff out. Not wanting to lose to a child, the actor fights back and falls into the basement with Tran, knocking the gang leader out cold. While Tabak and Cody grab the explosives and weapons, and Al Pacino keeps the Fire Dragons gang in check, Lazarus and Sandusky go to find Speedman. Upon finding him in one of the rooms, Lazarus urges him to escape, but Speedman has become too immersed in his role as Jack the Simpleton. He has found admiration and a fan base that worships his talent, so he sees the factory as his new home. Speedman is willing to stay there for the role and his so-called son, despite all the risks and constant threats to his life. Lazarus does everything he can to snap his friend out of it and remind him that his real home awaits. Trying to help Speedman, Lazarus steps out of his war hero persona and dives into his favorite role as a priest with an unconventional sexual orientation. Jeff finds the white powder and greedily dives into it. Sandusky finds his friend and urges him to reconsider before it's too late, reminding him he's a brilliant actor. Suddenly, two armed bandits burst into the room and threaten the actor's lives. Jeff releases gas and then attacks the enemies with the white powder in his hands, successfully dispatching them. Meanwhile, the bandits realize that Al Pacino can't control everyone at once. One of the gang members raises a weapon and starts shooting at the actor, forcing him to flee. It seems Al Pacino is doomed, but Cody uses explosives to protect the actor and scare off the enemies. The pyrotechnician destroys several buildings, but there are still too many bandits. Tabak decides to redeem himself for his earlier deception and becomes a true hero. Armed with a flamethrower, he attacks the gang members and drives them away, buying time for the others. Cody heads to the bridge leading to the helicopter to plant explosives. Soon, the actors break free from the trap and hijack a truck to rush toward the bridge. The group of 6 drives off but suddenly notices Tran emerging from the burning building. The guy is in a bad mood, holding a rocket launcher, which he immediately uses to try to annihilate them. Most of the actors manage to jump out of the truck, but not Sandusky, who is injured and unable to move on his own. Using their last strength, the group unites to cross the bridge and allow Cody to blow it up. At one point, Speedman decides to stay, believing the factory is his new family. After bidding farewell to Lazarus and the others, he returns. A few moments later, the group sees that Speedman has changed his mind and is running from the thugs chasing him. Throwing the boy with a knife off his shoulders, the actor urges Cody to blow the bridge quickly. Cody does so, which delays the gang's advance, but it seems that Speedman won't make it to the end. Noticing that their friend miraculously survived, Lazarus heads to help him. Realizing they've become not just actors, but heroes who have overcome themselves, Lazarus and Speedman return to the helicopter. They take off, but Tran shoots at them with a rocket launcher. The actors are doomed, but at the last moment, Rick appears from the jungle, having decided that friendship is more important than money. He throws a VCR into the air, and the charge blows it up instead of the helicopter. Rick saves the group of actors, allowing them to escape. Sometime later, Speedman receives a statuette for Best Actor, and the film, compiled from hidden camera footage, wins 8 Oscars. Grossman smugly watches the events unfold, pleased with the success of the project, as he made a lot of money from the film. After mocking his assistant and sending him off to find a new director, the millionaire finishes the evening with a victory dance. The film employs provocative humor, exploring themes of war, culture, and the ambitions of actors. At what point does comedy cross the line into being offensive? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below, hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more. See you in the next video.